Well, joining us now is a senior advocate of Nigeria, Chijioke Okoli, and at our Overflow studio, pretty much later, Teso David Ukechir, I can see David there, Teso David Ukechir will be with us as well. Well, let's start with you, Chijioke Okoli. This is another moment in the history of Nigeria that many would wish not to have happened. First, let's talk about how this is coming to you as a Nigerian, because people are still trying to get to the meat of the stories back and forth from the community and from the Nigerian military.
Well, I take it you're referencing the problem in Delta State. Let me start by expressing my condolences to all the many reported fatalities, the soldiers, the civilian casualties as well, because every life is important. And if one could go spiritual, I mean, there's no reason whatsoever or justification for a human being who can't create the lowest form of life to take another life. So I express my condolences to all the families that lost their people. But if we come to the heart of the matter, the problem is that we have sort of a low-intensity war going on in the country. So different places, you have wars and conflicts going on. And I may say so, what this references, for example, is like sort of the different ways, a range of explanations. But one of the things that strikes me, is the dichotomy of the reportage and the sense. What happened in Delta, as bad as it is, seems to have attracted all our attention. But all over the Northwest and Northeast is like the banality of violence, banality of evil. People are being killed on an industrial scale, including the military. I think it was Niger State or Kaduna State where it went so far as to bringing down an aircraft. So, we have to look at the root cause of this, because whether we like it or not, by all or most index of failed state, the most renowned contemporary thinker on failed state is the American philosopher Noam Chomsky. Yeah. If you look at his book, by all parameters of failed states, Nigeria, if not already there, is tethering on the brink of that disaster. And I think it should worry us. And then we'll look at the entire structure. Today, in Lagos, the Petrus honoring Professor Ben Nwabueze in a colloquium made the point that all serious thinking people or who've given serious thought to Nigeria say that you need to rework the constitution. Okay. We need to do that. Yeah.
Right. Let me quickly bring in Teso Ukechir here. I mean, he's looking at this security issues across the country. Specifically, I recall last week when we were having a chat with the respected Muslim Islamic cleric, he did point out that there seems to be some kind of humiliation of our military in Nigeria, getting them involved in internal conflict. That ordinarily the police really should be spearheading, ensuring Nigeria's internal security. What are your thoughts on that? What seems to be the challenge why the police is not at the forefront of securing Nigeria internally?
Okay, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Look, it's quite simple. The police needs to be funded. So if you look at the what just happened, what the gentleman is talking about, if the police are funded, police need more money, more assets, and resource. You see, motivation. And this is the reason why, the military have no business at all to be in that community if the police were well funded. You see, so these are the areas we really have to deal with some certain, root cause of this problem. So let me give you an example. A policeman, an inspector, is taking home 110,000 thereabout. And I just found out recently that a chicken is 10,000 naira. School fees, everything has risen up. Now, these are guys who should be, looking, or these are people who have the responsibility to protect 200 million Nigerians. Sorry, pardon me. These guys are not funded, and it is quite simple. All this problem with communities having problems with, the military, all these problems will be gone, because the policeman lives in the society, lives in that society with the people, sometimes door to door. We need to empower the police, find out ways on how we can fund the Nigerian police.
Right. Well, okay, we will come back to that, but again, let's come back to our senior advocate here. Chijioke, we can't but go back to where you stopped, and you were talking about revisiting our constitution, and if that's what some legal minds, luminaries like yourself, they're calling, what are the gaps that would make us relook our constitution that may ultimately help us get out of this mess?
Let's focus on the issue at hand in Delta State. Like they say, all politics is local. By the same token, the security first order is local. So if you had like state police or even local police, this problem that escalated to the point where you now have to get the military that shouldn't be there in the first place, like the other guest has pointed out, would in all probability be nipped in the bud. So, but then you have the state governor, chief security officer of a state. He cannot even command the police batsman. We saw that in Anambra State when Governor Ngige had a problem with the federal government under Obasanjo. Even his police ADC had to be taken. Meanwhile, you call him chief security officer. The man in charge, in charge of his security, he can't even control him. So there are a host of things that we need to do. But I'd rather focus on this particular issue. Like I said, I will also point out the police at the state level, I think most people agree we have to have that. There are concerns, but I think that those concerns pale into relative insignificance to the other side of having one centralized police that is largely not too fit for purpose. And then we also deal with the issue of funding at any rate. I reiterate the point made by the other guests here, that what we're dealing with is internal security. When it gets so violent, that's what the mobile police force was actually conceived of. Hardly we don't know about mobile police more anymore. So the army is doing checkpoints on Bini Onitsha Road, they're in Okigwe, they're in everywhere. And what that does actually is that ultimately it weakens the army, because you're throwing them to be doing ordinary police work. Inevitably, certain level of professionalism is lost. So these are some of the downside that we have to look at it. And then back to the question of asking the army to fish out the perpetrators. As heinous, as condemnable as this is, the army, their first line of action is not to investigate and do things. This falls within the police, and we're dealing with civilian criminals. That is the people who perpetrated this. So as much as possible, the IGP of police will have some special squad who should be drafted in there, because it is not a war situation.
Okay, let me quickly bring in Tessa Okechir. Yeah, you talk about the need to fund the police, but it will take more than just funding to get the police to be more efficient in a way that it can, you know, meet the internal challenges of security. Help us understand what really needs to be done desperately so that we can begin to see results.
Well, so you see, it all falls back to funding. So let me give you an example. Sometimes people sit over, dinner tables or wherever they find comfortable, and they're, sharing ideas. And you hear someone say, "Look, there was an incident of robbery, and we called the police, and the police couldn't come. And they showed up when the robbers had gone." Now, the fact is, sometimes I feel sorry for the IG of police, because the police station you just called they don't have electricity. That's one. So their telephones or their walkie-talkies, their communication gadgets are being charged with a generator. Then they are not provided. They don't have no money given to them from Abuja to buy diesel or fuel. Now, how is he supposed to respond to that robbery? There are some certain things that we're not discussing, and this is a high time for us to discuss this. Look, let me give you an example. The DSS is very effective. You see, very, very effective. Those guys are motivated. They do their job. They keep me, and you safe when we don't even know. But you see, this is the culture here. Those guys are well funded. Now, if you look at the manpower of the DSS, we're not talking about the NIA, these are on a different level. Okay? If you look at the manpower of the DSS, and then you now look at the manpower that of the police is larger. They have more responsibility. I agree with that gentleman. In the first place, the military are not supposed to be there. It is the police that will investigate. And let me tell you what. The DSS guys, super fine guys, are Nigerians. NIA, top-notch, are Nigerians. The police guys are Nigerians. So you see, the difference here is one person or one group or organization is being taken care of more. As a businessman, as a manufacturer, yeah.
And you think this isn't about the leadership, because when you speak about these, they all have training, and for those we've actually spotlighted the police the kind of training the police also have, and the leadership of the police in and out is also a case that Nigerians should also question.
So look, you don't have shortage of leadership. You have some of the finest gentlemen, and look at the IG you have, an intelligent, humble man. But you see, with all of that, how does he do his work if he doesn't have money? How does he train people? You only get the best out of human beings by training and retraining. These things are expensive. I just gave you an example of the DSS. The DSS are super fine at what they do because they have more than enough. You see, and it's quite simple. Why don't we take, because it's enough, it's not just enough to complain, but you see, let's provide a solution.
Well, Tessa, we're almost out of time. Sorry to cut you here, because the police, I think, is not left for the IG to speak up and say if he's underfunded. Let's allow the SAN wrap up this with us in 30 seconds. Apologies, because we're almost out of time. Chijioke, please.
Yes, I mean, for me, as we commiserate with the casualties, I think it is crucially important, knowing what happens in this sort of situation, to make sure that infractions of human rights, which inevitably occur in such situations. Of course, I don't expect the military authorities to own up to certain things they've done, because we know now that there is even international dimension to taking reprisal action on civilian population. You can understand their anger, but I do think that it is important, and I would listen to the Catholic bishop speaking. I want to believe him that there are indeed casualties. And the army has laid siege there. So I think it's crucially important from the Army High Command and every other person to make sure that you do not do mass punishment and then have the entire communities under siege, people, you know, their lives being at stake. Because the basic of most fundamental rights is the right to life. So it's important that we make sure that this does not escalate any further.
Absolutely. The bishop actually pointed out there's a need to avoid collateral damage in the pursuit of justice for the slain military officers. I will have to leave it there. Thank you so much. Chijioke Okoli, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and Teso Ukechir is Security Affairs Analyst. Thank you, both of you, for joining us on News Night tonight.